G'day, how's it going? I'm Matt Fradd with Ascension Presents. Don't know what that was. Today I want to share with you how I finally became a Christian. So in last week's episode, I spoke to you about how I was raised, how I was about to go to Rome for World Youth Day. In this video, I want to tell you about what happened. So we flew to Sydney, okay? And from Sydney, we were going to fly to Rome. Now, it was in Sydney that I met all of these young Christian Catholics that were going to World Youth Day. Now, you have to understand, up until this point in my life, I don't remember meeting a young Catholic that wasn't weird. Now, I was weird, but I didn't consider myself a Catholic, okay? But the Catholics that I would meet that were super into their faith were always a little weird, you know? Do you like the Bible? What's your favorite Bible verse? Go away from me. I don't want to talk to you. Shh, you know, leave me. I have to say, that was true of the Catholics. It wasn't true of the evangelical Protestants, who were all super cool. But even though they were super cool, they were super happy. Way too happy, you know? So happy it made you sick. Praise Jesus. Please leave me alone. Anyway, I'm in Sydney, surrounded by these young adults. They love Jesus Christ. They love the Catholic faith. They're saving sex till marriage. And I'm like, why would you do that? You're good looking. You have a shot, unlike me. You know, you believe this stuff. Why do you believe it? It was a long flight. It's over 20 hours. Can you imagine? I was strapped into this seat with no viable escape option. Who did I sit next to but a bloke by the name of Brandon? I won't say his last name in case he doesn't want me to, but Brandon was an actor in Australia. He was actually once roommates with the late Heath Ledger. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. I said, you're obviously not going for Jesus and that stuff, are you? He said, absolutely I am. And he went on to tell me about how when he was addicted to drugs, a friend of his invited him to church, they prayed over him, and he says to me, and the Lord freed me. Huh. The Lord freed. See, I was used to making fun of Christians. But here's a bloke who's both sincere and kind. I thought it's difficult to make fun of people who are sincere and kind. What was I going to say? Oh, you're a loser. Why would you say that? Because I'm insecure. Please like me. So I said a stupid thing, which stupid people say. I said, well, I believe everyone needs something to believe in. It sounds like warm and fuzzy. It doesn't mean anything. You look at it and it falls apart in your hands. I believe everyone needs something to believe in. It's stupid. But that's what I said. You know, I didn't have any good reasons one way or the other, but their joy was infectious and it was just really exciting, you know. And I thought, well, maybe there's some truth to this after all, because I had a lot of questions about God, you know. I'd say, why does God exist? Or how you know God doesn't have another God that created him? Or why do bad things happen to good people if God's supposed to be good? Or how do you know we go somewhere when we die? All of these questions that when I would ask people at home, they would always say, it's a mystery. And they would leave it at that. These people would acknowledge that God is clearly mysterious. We could give good reasons for what we believed, and they would give them to me, and I thought, I'm not convinced, but there's something here, and I find it at least very rational and a little compelling. While I was there, I began to pray the skeptic's prayer. Maybe you've heard. You say, Jesus, I don't know if you exist, but if you do, would you reveal yourself to me in a way that I would understand? You probably don't exist, which means I'm talking to myself right now, which is a little awkward. But not as awkward as pretending you don't exist, living as if you don't exist, and wasting my life when I could know that you loved me, that you had a plan for my life, and that I could love you and find joy in a way that I hadn't known. So I gave it a shot. Well, there were several prayer experiences over the course of the 2 weeks that I was on this pilgrimage that just blew me away. I don't know how else to say it. I know it sounds cliche, don't you understand? But I don't know. I'm not good enough at the English language. I speak Australian. You know, like I don't know how else to communicate it except to say, there I was, you know. Felt like I encountered a person, don't you know. A person who I couldn't see or hear. And I felt deep in my bones that there was this person who loved me as I was, yes, but too much to leave me that way. And I encountered a joy that I had never had in 17 years of my life. It was deep and abiding. It wasn't short and fickle like the quote-unquote joys I would get from drinking or getting high. No, this was something substantial. It reminds me of C.S. Lewis somewhere said, I believe in Christianity like I believe the sun has risen. Not because I can see the sun, but because by it I see everything else. And for me, everything started to click into gear. I remember thinking, okay, maybe the reason creation appears to be created is that it has a creator. Maybe the reason the universe seems designed for intelligent life is that there's a designer. Maybe the reason certain things are right and wrong, independent of what anyone thinks about them, is that there is a moral lawgiver, and that's why we're bound to these, whether we want to be or not. Maybe the reason virtually every civilization in the history of mankind has believed in God or something like God, maybe it's because something like God exists, namely God. I came home from Rome like one of those happy Christians. I just couldn't believe it. It really changed my life. Now, I was walking home from school one day with my friend who I spoke about in the last episode who wasn't doing so well. Well, I started telling her about Jesus and she said, "Matt, you got to shut up about Jesus. Everyone thinks you're a freak. They think you're weird." I said, "Carla, they thought I was weird before. The only difference is now I'm happy. I'm happy and weird, and I'm okay with that." And I told her that God loved her and that Jesus wasn't just some myth, some picture in a stained glass window hoping for a better day, but that he lived and that he died for her and that he rose for her and that she could have a relationship with him. And she brushed me off. But a couple of weeks later, we had a retreat and I invited her and somehow she came and she encountered Christ in a similar way as to how I encountered him, and her life changed forever as well. She's now doing ministry in Australia, you know. Look, these videos are so great because I don't know where you're listening to me from. India, Australia, China, maybe. I know YouTube's supposed to be illegal, but maybe you're Chinese, somewhere else watching this. I don't know. I don't know who you are, that's the point. But if you like where I was at, I want to encourage you to do two things, and I mean this very sincerely. Pray. Say, "God, teach me about you if you exist. Show me that you exist if you exist, in a way I'd understand." Do that. From the depths of your heart, do that. The second thing I'd say is get rid of all the ugly things in your life. You want to know if God exists? You can't just convert with your intellect. You have to convert with your whole self, because I think if we're immersed in sin, our intellect is clouded and we won't be able to see as clearly. So if you're engaged in serious sin, quit it. And then do this as the final thing I'll tell you to do. Pick up a copy of the New Testament. Read through one of the Gospels. Maybe the Gospel of John, which I think is the most beautiful. Maybe the Gospel of Mark, which is the shortest. But don't do anything else. Read that entire Gospel. Get coffee. Do it in one sitting. Do it tonight. Read the entire thing. And ask yourself, could it really be true? I mean, could this be really more than just a fable or some story? I genuinely believe that it'll change your life the way it changed mine. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, do you have it all together now, Matt? Clearly not. If you know me, you know that's not true. Just ask my wife. I can be a mess. I deal with things that are embarrassing that I wish I hadn't got to deal with. I got to go to confession for things that I wish I was over by now. I have questions about the faith that I still don't know how to resolve, but that's all right, because I think regardless of the worldview one adopts, you're going to have questions. All right? That just comes down to the fact that you're not supremely intelligent, that you're a finite, limited creature. Put it this way, if you could find a worldview that would rid you of all questions, that's probably a good sign that it's the wrong worldview. So pray, get rid of things that are ugly in your life, and read sacred scripture, and I believe Jesus Christ can change your life the way he changed mine. Thanks for listening. Feel free to leave a comment below. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter @MattFrad, or even ask me a question. I'd be happy to respond to it in an upcoming episode. God bless you.